If you are coming back from any setback or suffering, then this podcast is one that is a must listen, because I've just recorded a conversation with Lee Milteer, and Lee shares some deeply personal story of her own coming back from tragedy to triumph with mindset and intuition. Lee Milteer is an internationally known and celebrated entrepreneur, you might already know. She's a visionary, a best-selling author, an award-winning professional speaker. She's a TV personality and an intuitive business mentor. Lee provides business and success advice and resources to nearly 250,000 people around the world. Here's my conversation with Lee Milteer. Well, what an absolute thrill to have Lee Milteer joining us on the show. Lee, welcome.
Thank you so much, Mike. I was looking forward to talking to you. This is going to be fun.
It's going to be fun, and we're going to hopefully help to inspire some people who are going to be listening to you and watching you on this recording on YouTube, because they are on the Comeback Show podcast show for a reason, and more than likely they're going through some kind of an adversity, Lee, or they're in a setback situation. They're looking for ideas and inspiration to make their comeback, and so we're going to dive in. So the audience members know about your extensive background and your successes and your work with entrepreneurs and your other works. But we want to just go back a little bit in time, if we can, Lee, back to the earlier days of Lee Milteer, before Lee Milteer became the Lee Milteer we all know today. Where did life begin for you as a young girl, and what was life like growing up, family-wise, etc.?
Well, I grew up on a ranch in Chuckytuck, Virginia, which had a population of about 60 people. We had 110 acres surrounded by water, and we were actually land rich, but physically poor. We had no idea this was worth money. And my father was a very tough guy. He was almost 6'5" and 300 pounds, and he took absolutely no guff from anyone. When I was born, they were disappointed that I wasn't a boy because, if you have a ranch and a farm, you need boys. So my father actually raised me as a boy. He taught me to fight, shoot guns, ride horses, and take any mess from anybody. If I could deal with my father, but there's nobody else that even comes close to my father. So life has been interesting. He was extremely old-fashioned in the sense of we were very self-sufficient. Literally, we had herds of cows and different animals, but in this huge farm, our personal garden was 3 acres, which was huge. So other than salt and flour, we were 100% self-sufficient. So I grew up very independent and sort of very kick-ass. When I was in high school, they brought us all in high school one day and said, who would like to raise their hands and go out and sell the yearbook advertisement? Not one person in the entire school besides me raised their hand. I raised my hand because, one, I thought school was incredibly boring, and I was very smart, and I was like, yes, I can go do that. And I found sales. And sales was a great ticket for me because I was fearless. No meant nothing to me. And that really changed my life because I had spent my childhood in the guidance counselor's office going, well, women are supposed to do all these things, but I can't do any of these things. I can't be a nurse. I'm not going to be a teacher. I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to do that. Not going to do the other. But when it came to sales, I really understood that sales was just education, and that we were just educating people and matching someone's need with a product or a service. And I have very high integrity because my father was a super honest guy. And so that ticket of realizing that I could just be bubbly and happy and enthusiastic and sharing people how they could match their needs, I did so well. And so I went to to college for a couple of years, but I didn't get along well in college because I kept saying to the teachers, excuse me, how do you make money from that? How do you leverage that? They didn't know. And after 2 years, I thought, well, this is a waste of my time. I'm going to be an entrepreneur. I was born an entrepreneur. My first business was when I was 12 years old. I had 37 people working for me,
What?
and 37 people working for me at 12 years old. And my father just encouraged this. So I've just been an extremely independent person. I'm very motivated and excited about life. I've had a lot of tragedy in my life. So I really do understand that, we can come back from great tragedy. We can come back from things that have just wounded us to the point. When I was 22, I got married, and I was truly someone I was very in love with, and we were building a restaurant. And the people who had a restaurant down the street from us threatened us and told us they were going to kill us and burn down our house because we were going to take the parking back from the restaurants that they had had before, because business is business, and my husband's family actually owned the land. And they actually did kill my husband. On Christmas Eve, they came to our house, they knocked on the front door. It was a professional hit, and they shot him in the face and killed him. And I was horrible. And I was a professional photographer at the time, and I fortunately wasn't there, or the police said I would be also gone. I was in a dark room, and when I came home, the police were there, and I really hardly left my house for the next year. But when I did leave my house, Mike, where I went was the library. And I spent hours and hours and hours reading books, because I was a librarian in school, because I liked books. In fact, when I was 16, I read Think and Grow Rich, The Magic of Believing, and Psycho-Cybernetics.
Oh, wonderful. What a great trilogy to read.
Wow, what a great trilogy. And so even though I was young, I was just really conditioned from my upbringing to be resourceful, because when you live on a ranch and a farm, there's always a problem that you just have to find a solution to. There is no calling someone else. I mean, it's your thing. So even though a lot of people would have said, oh, you had this very tough childhood, and maybe I did have a very tough childhood, it has made me a very strong human being today, so that no matter what comes down the world for me, I'm pretty built for dealing with it. I'm not someone who is going to fold. We never win when we fold. There's always, always, always something we haven't thought of.
Lee, I had no idea that there was that part of your tragedy in your past. And how old were you, if you don't mind me asking, at that point?
We got married at 22. He got killed when I was 27.
Okay.
And so it was a real horrible mess. Nothing I could have ever imagined could happen to someone like us. I mean, these were things you read in books or saw on TV, but you didn't expect it to happen to you. But unfortunately, it's still a crime that's not solved. And the guy the police know who did it. It's just, they can't prove it.
Right.
So it's been a very interesting journey, and it actually made me become a professional speaker and a writer, because before that I was a professional photographer, and I had traveled around the world doing landscape photography until, you want to have fun, I got arrested as a spy in Israel.
Get out.
I'm dead serious. Arrested as a spy. And I'm saying, because we'd been on the road 3 months, and we had been why I got arrested is primarily because I'd been in Africa and I had been in Egypt for a long time. And when they detained us, my husband and I didn't have our story straight, because, who can remember where you had lunch yesterday? And you're traveling, and, they're expecting us to remember 3 months worth of stuff. I got it right. He got it wrong for a change. But the American consul got us. It took about 3 days. But I kept saying to the people that arrested us. And by the way, you do not mess with the people from Israel. They are very, very serious.
Mm.
If there was ever an army on earth that you would want to protect you, it would be Israel.
Right.
And I kept saying, look at me. I'm like a little hippie chick as a photographer. Why would you even think I'm a spy? And they said, you're the perfect spy because you're out there, you're bubbly. You're so out there, no one would ever think that you're a spy. So Mike, I've told this story many times in great detail on stage, and I've had 3 women in over 15 years come to me who looked almost like me. They could have been my sister, and said they were spies, and that's why I got arrested, because the female spies are very, very normally outgoing, and they're noticeable.
Yes.
So anyway, that was another little chapter in a book someplace I'll write.
Well, how interesting. I mean, I knew just before coming into this conversation, I mean, Lee Milteer, have a look at the background and the accomplishments and everything else and the backstory and that. But let me just take a pause for a moment, Lee, with our listener and our audience member, because there's a key word that comes to mind here, and that's perspective. So wherever the audience member is watching you now, Lee, on YouTube, the recording, or listening, and maybe they're going through, I'm speaking directly to the audience at the moment, Lee, if you're going through something at the moment, it sounds trite for someone to say, I'll get perspective. I don't mean it, we don't mean it to be demeaning or belittling in any way, but it's helpful for a mindset to get perspective. And now we're talking to Lee Milteer, who's just told us, and I didn't know this part of her background, of extreme tragedy. I mean, I couldn't think of anything more tragic than that, other than losing a child due to illness or accident. And so what comes to mind, Lee, is you mentioned Think and Grow Rich and Napoleon Hill's, and I'll paraphrase, because if I try and get it right, I'll stuff it up. Within every adversity is the seed for something better or greater. And so you said that you became a public speaker and a person with a public profile, and you went on to achieve and continue to achieve great things. So, okay. Now, commercial real estate was a part of your sales background. I see that in your history. And so when you're involved in sales, Lee, you're in the people business, aren't you? Is that what it is?
I am in the people business. Yes, absolutely.
That's what it is. And that's what recovery and comebacks is very much pinned to. It's like sticking a yellow sticky note onto a fridge. You stick your comeback on other people, because without other people, you're not an island on your own. All right, Lee. So let's bring us up to more recent things. You're the founder of Millionaire Smarts, which is a coaching program. Tell us a little bit about that and the sort of clients you're working with there.
So this is a very unusual coaching program in the sense of when 9/11 happened in the United States, I was a professional speaker. I was working with people like Walt Disney, Ford Global, AT&T, NASA. I had all these huge contracts. I had over $1 million on the books just speaking a year. That's how successful I was. When 9/11 happened, I remember I live in Virginia Beach, Virginia, which is on the east coast of the United States. I live right on the Atlantic Ocean. And I had this little teeny red TV set in my kitchen. And I'm making myself a sandwich. And all of a sudden, 9/11 happens, and this horrible tragedy for the United States and the world that happened. And I had no idea, Mike, that was going to totally change my career. It never once occurred to me that every contract that I had would be canceled in 17 days. Mm. In 17 days, I went from $1 million to zero, nothing. And at that moment, I was like, very taken back, like nobody would fly, none of these corporations honored their contracts with me, no matter how loyal you'd been to them, they weren't loyal to you. And so for fortunately, because I grew up poor, I saved money. I'm a big saver. And so I just, I had the money to be okay. It's just mentally, I was like, I have to do something with my life. I can't just get up and be a person of leisure. I'm I'm a producer. I like my greatest pleasure in life, Mike, is to create. So I'm a creator manifester.
Oh yeah, I love it.
So for a whole year, I'm like, what the heck am I going to do with myself? And Mr. Dan Kennedy, who is a famous marketing guy who happens to be my best friend, and we have quite the hilarious friendship. He said to me, he said, you know what is really missing in the marketplace that nobody is doing is that all these coaches have, these programs on tax coaching and restaurant coaching and, every kind of coaching you can think about. And a lot of them happen to be in one of his platinum groups. And he said, there's two parts to success. There is the technical part of success, which these coaches can do very well. But then there's the mindset, attitude part of success, which nobody is covering. And these coaches can't cover it because they don't understand it. And it's the secret to retention. That if you have a coaching program and you're only giving them the technical information, eventually they will hit some hiccup where there's an emotional trauma or something's going on that they need that kind of support. So he suggested that I create, and we called it at the time, co-op coaching, for a lack of a better word. So I pitched all of his coaching group that for each month that I would become a content provider. So I would interview some successful author. I would then use the transcript. I would write 4 reports that my clients could then distribute, and a number of other things that we have added on over the years. We came up with the idea in June of 2003. By August of 2003, I'm up and running and have an income of 60 grand. I'm literally like, once I get started, I am a true implementer and get the stuff done and get it done very, very fast with lots of, people. And so my clients are all business owners who have coaching clients, very large coaching clients. Some have as many as 5,000 people. So currently we have 250,000 people in our coaching program.
What?
250,000.
That's unreal.
It's unreal. It is. And it's not because I actually brought those people in. This is what's unique about it. So I'm the content provider for all these other coaches. And when you put all their groups together, that's the total of number of people. Our biggest client is Japan. There's 1,000 people in Japan alone who subscribe to Millionaire Smarts. So we're just we're going to offer that individually starting in a month or so. So my clients and all the clients that I also take as one-on-one coaching are business owners, entrepreneurs, because that's who I'm aligned with. That's who I am. Yeah. I don't know if you know this, that I'm highly intuitive, and I'm very, very intuitive. And so I'm not a psychic, but everybody's intuitive. It's just I've learned to harness it for business.
Yeah.
And so I can sit with someone and I can just know what they need to do and where their weaknesses are and how we can help them move past those weaknesses. Because, life is a journey, and, we're all getting better and better every day if we're working at it. So I have several coaching groups. One is Renegade Millionaire Implementation. One is Millionaire Smarts. Apparently the word millionaire has to be in everything I do.
Why not?
But some people get quite offended by that. And I'm perfectly okay with that. Yeah. I grew up poor. I decided not to be poor. I just decided I'm not going to be poor. I'm going to be secure. I'm going to be financially secure. So that is an internal decision people have to make. Nobody's going to give that to you. There's not some fairy in the sky that's going to hit you over the head and say, oh, here's the pot of gold and, have a nice life. The chance of me winning the lottery, who knows? We still buy the tickets.
It's fun to buy the ticket, but we don't.
It is fun to buy the ticket.
Yeah. Lee, there's a few things you've presented there. First of all, congratulations on the Millionaire Smarts coaching program and where you're heading, and the success in Japan and the exciting developments coming in the next month and onwards. How is that, by the way? So do you speak Japanese, or what's the translation requirements there for such a program to be successful with the Japanese?
The only word I can say in Japanese is sushi.
Yeah.
So when I went to Japan, I stayed 6 weeks in Japan. I actually offered in Japan a certification coaching program. I certified people to become coaches. And here's the truth. The reason we did it in Japan versus the United States, the legalese in the United States is mind-boggling to do this. But in Japan, all I have to do is show up and say, hey, we're going to do this coaching program. Here's your certificate. Here you go.
Yeah.
And so I was in Japan about 6 weeks, and they hired for me the most phenomenal translator who actually works with the Dalai Lama. Honest, that 6 degree of separation thing in life.
Oh, yeah.
You meet this person, but they're working with this incredible other famous person, and it's breathtaking to meet these fabulous people.
Oh.
So I have a translator when I'm in Japan, and I've never been treated with more respect. In fact, there was 100 people in the class, and at the end of the third day, 80 of them bought me gifts, which I was not used to. We had to buy luggage to get these gifts home, and most of the gifts were samurai, because they call me the female samurai.
Oh, perfect.
And if you've studied being a samurai, that is quite the honor.
Oh, yes, indeed.
So I'm very honored to be the female samurai.
Oh, yes. We shall name you from this day forth the female samurai. You're no longer Lee Milteer to me. All right, let's just come back here. Oh, since we're talking about mindset, motivation, and by the way, you asked me, you didn't know whether I knew or not, but you're highly intuitive. I'm highly intuitive too, and so yes, I did know. And we all are. Do you teach that, by the way, in any of your programs, intuition and how to develop and strengthen your intuition?
Yes, we have a program called The New Common Sense. And it really is. Your intuition should be your new common sense, because you absolutely cannot trust what's happening in the world, what's being said in the media, even whatever your government might be saying, because there's so much corruption, there's so much negative things happening. And you know that I'm very outspoken on social media, get thrown off regularly, which I'm very proud of.
Yeah,
and
more power to you.
I don't care about getting thrown off, because that's ridiculous. And I'm more concerned about the state of the world than myself, that somebody has to go out there and say the truth. And the truth is there's a lot of lying going on. And we don't have to go into it here, but I'm not for these lockdowns. I'm not for an experimental, medical procedures for myself. I just think there's something desperately wrong, and someone has to have the courage to speak up. And I get hate mail. There's nothing I can do about that. I mean, look, it's never really, I can't take it personally. When people do things like that, it's not really about you. It's really about who they are and their trials and tribulations, and they're just projecting upon you things. So I think it's very important that we start listening to our intuition more. And I call it the head, heart, gut check. The head, heart, gut check. So Mike, new information might come to me, and if I feel the information, hear the information, touch the information, it has to resonate. Will it go past my left brain, which is, very discerning, the heart, which always tells you the truth, and then the gut, where there's, all this, wiring in your body, to let you know something is aligned with you, something isn't aligned with you. And I can tell you, through my traveling in the world, I've been in very, very dangerous situations that if it hadn't have been for my intuition, might not have worked so well for me. But I do talk about intuition. I try very hard when I speak to high schools and colleges. And they always say, will you come speak free? Sure. What do you want me to speak on? And then I go, no, we're not speaking on that. We're going to speak on teaching kids to listen to their head, heart, gut connections.
Wonderful.
So it's something we all need to acknowledge and be aware of. We have these instincts, and society has basically programmed us out of paying attention to our instincts. Let's trust the government. Let's trust this. Let's trust that. No. I trust no one until those three things are absolutely combined in an alliance. And if they're not, I don't make decisions. I don't rush. I just, walk away.
Well, you grew up on a ranch, on country, and you're brought up by a 6'5" man who knew what he was about and took no shit, pardon the French, from anybody.
No.
So this has been your modus operandi throughout life from a young girl. You're an attractive female. I'm allowed to say that because I am. Thank
you.
Yeah, and but you're not someone who's riding bareback and naked on a rainbow-coloured unicorn. You've got your 2 feet very firmly planted on the ground, and that's very, very refreshing, because what we don't want our audience to start thinking is that we're leading them so far down a woo-woo path that it becomes too unrealistic to get a grip on. I mean, how realistic do you want it? Here's Lee with this tragedy in her background, who's risen beyond it, who lost $1 million worth of income on the books in one day, and has clawed back, if I can say clawed back, because I can't imagine all of this success came to you on a silver platter. You're not telling us that, are you?
No, actually, none of it has come on a silver platter. I wish. No, I am one of the hardest working people. I did 6 years of public seminars where I traveled 100 cities a year, including Europe. And I did the seminars for anywhere from 300 to 1,000 people a day. I shook almost everybody's hand. I have the immune system. I never get sick. Never get sick. I grew up on a ranch, which is shit and dirt. And then my life was being out in the public and shaking hands. And I would do 5 hours and 15 minutes on stage, run to the next plane, fly for hours, get it in at midnight, be up at 5 a.m. and to do it all over again 3 days a week for 6 solid years.
Yeah.
I mean, that is brutal. Brutal.
And what's beautiful about brutal is that it's all taking the action that's required. We can sit here and flap our gums about mindset and intuition, even, if you like, but without action, without brutal action, I believe in miracles, but it's unlikely to manifest. Oh, that's a key word, actually, manifest, because you have actually, this might be a very good time to ask you, where would you like our audience to go to online if they want to know more about you and even see what your offerings are?
Okay, I made this easy for people.
Oh,
all right.
How easy is that?
So my name is, I have the male spelling of the name, and if you met my father, you'd understand that. Milteer. And if you go to milteer.com, you can sign up for our free e-zine. It's called Gems of Wisdom, and it's absolutely free. We don't sell our list, nothing like that. But what I really have for you, Mike, and for your group is it's called the 5typesofenergy.com. And the reason I want you to go there is I created 5 small videos. They're 5 minutes each, and they are on the most important thing that everybody needs to know. It's about life currency. So you have 5 things that are in your life currency. You have mental energy, emotional energy, physical, you have spiritual, and you have financial energy. And you, as a person, you have to manage this life currency. And if you don't manage those 5 important points, what happens is you become very out of balance. So there, when you sign up, a video come, I think, every 3 days, and they're only 5 minutes long. We have lots of churches and businesses and people who play them in meetings and things like that. But what I've really discovered is, everything in life is vibrational, and that and as you can tell, I've studied quantum physics, and I'm a scientific person. No one really calls me woo-woo, even though the things that I'm interested in might be considered that. I think that you have to have this understanding of hard work combined with understanding really what makes the universe work and the law of attraction. And so I am very strong at making these very clear intentions to the universe or to God or whatever you want to call, our environment, that I'm at the right place at the right time, and that I recognize opportunities. And I think my biggest secret that I enjoy in life is that the opportunities are always there. It's only when I can clear my eyesight from all expectations and actually see the opportunity that is being presented to me, and do I take action on it. And so I've been very blessed in the sense of I'm very fast to take action. In fact, this morning I did an entire seminar for an hour and a half just on the topic of implementation.
Yeah.
You've got to implement. You cannot be hanging around in your head all the time thinking, I'm going to write this book. Start the damn book. If you just wrote a little bit every single day, at some point it will be finished.
Yeah.
And get rid of all perfectionism. Sometimes good enough is good enough.
Yeah.
And I think people kill themselves with perfectionist mindset because they won't get started. And the other belief I have, Mike, is you have to ask for what you want. I'm very clear about asking for what I want. I learned I'm a money person. I ask for what I want because I'm clear, and people like to deal with me. And once you start dealing with me, most companies, my contracts are on an average of 12 years long. Average.
Wow.
Because I always show up, I'm on time, I present new stuff, and because I love it. This is my life purpose. This was what I was born to be. I wasn't born to be a rich man's wife. That would have been nice sometimes as I'm sitting at the airport for 6 hours, thinking, oh my God,
Yeah.
all those rich guys I let go. But I married for love. And so I'm very happy about that. And I've been with my current husband now 17 years. And
yes, I believe you just
had an anniversary.
Your anniversary. Congratulations to you and hubby for your 17th, did you say?
Yes.
17th anniversary. How wonderful. Now, you mentioned something about, by the way, to the audience, Milteer.com, 5typesofenergy.com. But if you can't remember it, don't go yet, because we've got just a few minutes left with Lee, and the URLs to those domain names will be in the show notes. So if you're watching this on YouTube, just look down to the show notes. If you're listening to on your favorite podcast, just check the notes there. Intuition. So, yes, you love it, you said. You love what you do. That comes through. Now, you don't need to be intuitive to see that you love what you're doing, you love what you're involved in. And, there's another name. I'm an Australian, if you haven't worked it out by now.
Oh, I'm very clear. I love your accent.
Oh, terrific. Actually, you're the one with the accent. But yes,
I am.
the BS radar, right? The bullshit radar. When you're intuitive, you also get this BS radar. You are able to sense not only the good stuff, but warnings about the bad. And this is why having the strengthened muscle of intuition like you have and use Lee, and people like me and others who we would both encourage do the same, we can detect and see when there's bullshit flying around the room as opposed to the genuineness and the sincerity. And you're 100% genuine. Obviously, I know that. And all of your clients and so many, when people go to your site, Lee, or follow you on the social media, we'll see the brutal honesty, talking about brutal action, brutal honesty, radical honesty, actually. Good book, that, by Brad Blanton, Radical Honesty. Okay, Lee, last few minutes, because we're very respectful of your time. I do want to ask you, because I didn't know you have an honorary doctorate in motivational theory from the Commonwealth College. Would you just tell us what that is, please?
Well, truthfully, what it is they needed a speaker free. And they said, the college is in my hometown, and they said, we actually have a course on, motivation, and there's no one better in our entire, state than you. And would you come speak to our group, and then we will give you an honorary doctorate? And I was like, yes, I can do that. And they gave me the whole shebang, the robes and all this stuff, which are, what do you do with that afterwards? I have no idea. But so the doctrine in motivation, I'm amused by this because I didn't finish college traditionally, and here I am, a doctor. If I want to be,
yeah.
We never use the title. I'm also a lady, by the way. I've been anointed a dame by an organization that's like 300 years old for my contribution to charities for animals.
Yes.
My big push in life, if I win the lottery, all the money is going to charity for rescue animals and things like that. And I'm not the kind of person, even though I grew up on a ranch, that I can go out and rescue the animals myself. But what I can do, and I'm very, very good at, is raising money, because I am willing to beg for money for the animals.
Oh,
and
terrific.
So I love that very, very much. And I'm just amused that these things were bestowed upon me because I'm such a rebel, and I don't ever follow the line and the ladders and like everybody else does. And yet here we are, and I just gave a speech, and I'm a lady and a doctor.
Well, if ever we meet, I was thinking of coffee, but I think if ever we meet, it'll be high tea, and it'll be high tea with the dame. Yeah, where are you going, Mike? A high tea with the dame.
High tea with the dame. Yes, yeah. Yes.
Well, Lee, we're going through tough times now. We're summing up now, and we're going through tough times. You've been through tough times, the toughest of times. I mean, I keep saying it, but I can barely imagine how tough that personal experience must have been, and yet the seed for something greater was found, and now here we are in 2021. We're all faced with this situation that has crawled across the planet and changed our lives. I know what your views are, Lee, and I fully support and stand with you in all that you say online. You know that, and I support what you say. I know this is not necessarily the forum right now, but I will match what you said. We are going through what we're going through worldwide, and what we don't want to do, and this is part of coming back, by the way. I mean, if you want to lie down and believe everything you're told and take orders, okay, that's your choice. You've got a choice. You can do that. If that's the choice, you do it. And all the best. But Lee and I aren't like that. And so I encourage you, the audience member, check out Lee Milteer on Facebook. Go and find her and have a look what she says openly about what she feels about a variety of topics, including the one that most of us are affected by right now. Lee Milteer, so much, we could keep, I could keep talking for another hours, because there's so much depth to your, breadth and depth to your experience, to what you do, what you've done, what you do, and what you're going to be doing. Japan in a month, look out, Japan. And so thank you very much for giving us and our audience your time, Lee. And one more time, would you hold up that beautiful sign you've prepared there? Look at that. No expense spared there. Lee Milteer, Milteer.com, 5typesofenergy.com. I actually had your 5typesofenergy.com videos. They're very good, and I encourage the audience, the member watching you now, Lee, on YouTube, or listening to you on the podcast, go to that 5typesofenergy.com. Don't think about it. Just do it. Please go to 5. If you're in that situation right now of adversity, and what is adversity? Setback or suffering. Go, if you feel you are in a setback or state of suffering, there's lots to do. Lots of mindset that you'll need to work on, lots of activities that you'll need to do, but make one of those activities the thing you do right now, and that's 5typesofenergy.com. There's no charge, it's free, and you'll get Lee's 5 videos, which I know will be a contributing factor to helping you make your comeback. Lee Milteer, what an honour, what a pleasure. Dr. Lee, Dame Lee, a rose by any other name is still a rose. Thank you very much for joining us. It's been our pleasure.
Thank you so much. And I just like to say one little thing, to sort of leave everybody with.
Please.
Because of what's going on in the world, they can control us from fear, which is fantasized experiences appearing real. And the reason I can be so outgoing and truthful and transparent on social media is I'm not afraid. I'm not afraid at all. In fact, I've never been afraid 1 second during this whole thing. I know my immune system is working fantastic. I actually have lots of doctor friends who have what they say real cures, if that should happen. But the main thing is that people control other people with fear. And once you give yourself permission that you're not going to be afraid, that you're going to live your life, you'll be so shocked at how the people who are promoting fear will back down because they use threats. And look, I was in jail for 3 days in Israel. If I can survive that, there's nothing really they can do to me. So I'm not afraid. And I think there's more people like us have to come forth. I'm actually considering, people are asking me to run for office. And that never occurred to me in 1,000 years to run for office for something. But if people like us who are transparent and truthful and want to do the right thing, if we don't step up, it could be as small as the, school board, which I'm not going to go for the school board, but I'm going to go for something if I decide to do that. But this current situation is making me realize maybe there is a step up that I need to do to be of more service. And I'm not going to be afraid. I'm not going to be afraid. And they cannot control you if you are not afraid. So I haven't worn a mask. I don't follow rules. I don't care about 6-foot distancing. This is all ridiculous. I live my life, and there are people who don't like it, but that's their problem, not my problem. I'm going to live my life because it's my life to live. So with that, thank you very much for the format. And Mike, it's been delightful to have this time with you.
Wonderful, Lee. I support everything you've just said. And yes, it's been our pleasure and our honour to have you joining us on the show. And to the audience member watching or listening, don't just let this be the end. Let this be the start. Go back and listen again. Watch Lee Milteer on this video again. Watch it through again, because without doubt there'll be something that you've missed during listening. But if Lee Milteer resonates with you, and you'll know it. Let your intuition tell you. You'll know it. You'll feel it in your gut. Go back and listen again. Go back and watch again. And before you do that, go to 5typesofenergy.com. Just do it. And let Lee send her short 5-minute videos. There's 5 of them. They are life-changing. So Lee, bye-bye for now. Thanks for joining us. All the best to you.
Thank you so much.